All right, so this is a little awkward. It's like you're both walking to the same car, but you're saying goodbye because I'm still up here. I'm going to do a panel now. So thank you so much. Thank you. I will ask to the stage Senator Bartolotta and Senator Judy Ward and Representative Leadbeter. I think they're back here. Let me just check. All right, they're here. Come on. We'll be over here. How are you, Senator? Good to see you. Senator Bartolotta. We've got Senator Ward. Come to the stage. Senator Judy Ward, everybody. Good to see you. And Representative Leadbeter. Come on up, Rep. Good to see you. Come on. Good to see you. Thank you. All right, have a seat. All right. So it's easy to talk the talk. It's easy to talk about what we should do and what we need to do and what we want to do. But the people actually in the trenches doing the work and fighting the fight are people like the three of you here today. So it's so good to have you. I'm going to start with Senator Bartolotta. If you can tell us a little bit about your district, tell us a little bit about what you do, some of your priorities. These are freedom fighters in the legislature. We're honored to have them here. Give them a round of applause again.
Thank you.
And we'll just kind of come through here,
Okay.
Just give a quick,
Quick little shout out, a little
Shout
intro. I'm Bartolotta. I represent the 46th Senatorial District, which means nothing in numbers, but is the cornerstone of the Keystone State. I am in the arms of West Virginia. We are Marcellus Shale, Utica, and coal all the way, every day, all the time. So yes, thank you. Yeah. So I have been the cheerleader for all things energy since before I was elected, even in 2014. So priorities for me is to get the boot off the neck of energy producers in Pennsylvania. We should be exporting freedom. We should be watching industry, manufacturing, and capital investment trip over themselves, rushing into the Commonwealth to plant their flag. And oh, by the way, you dig it a little too deep and gas is going to come out of the ground. And that's why we should be seeing nothing but progress, prosperity, and investment in Pennsylvania. So that is a huge priority for me.
I love it. So we asked these lawmakers to this panel specifically because we wanted to talk education, energy, and government accountability. Those are the three probably highest impact levers that we can pull in Pennsylvania. And these are three champions on those fronts. Senator Bartolotta has been doing amazing work on the energy front. She'll be talking about that. Rob Leadbeter is next. He chairs the House Freedom Caucus. So Robert, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. PLC is always an incredible time. It's certainly an opportunity to reinvigorate oneself and recommit oneself to the pursuit of freedom. As Andrew mentioned, my name's Robert Leadbeter. I'm the state representative representing the 109th district, consisting of all of Columbia County. Agriculture is the #1 industry in that geography. And, when we consider what we're here for, it is the same reason that I, along with a bunch of colleagues of mine, as well as the senators that have joined me here this morning, started the Freedom Caucus for, which is to ensure that government does not grow and that our personal freedoms are not taken away. So as a founding member of the Pennsylvania Freedom Caucus, it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with the senators, and thank you for the invitation, Andrew.
Thank you, sir. And finally, we've got Senator Ward, who has been a champion on the educational front, doing amazing things. Senator Ward?
Hi, thank you for the welcome. Great to be here. And as you were talking about, the conference here, it's kind of like a retreat for freedom, right? I mean,
right.
It feels good and very comfortable. So I represent the 30th Senate District, which consists of Blair, Fulton, Huntington, Mifflin, and Juniata counties. A lot of agriculture, but I think I have the most Republican district in the Senate, so I'm very proud of that. I have great folks that I represent, and I've taken just an interest in our young people, our children, and I just believe there should be school choice, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later.
I love it. I love it. Give these three a round of applause. Outstanding. Outstanding. So I want to start by talking about energy. So a few minutes ago, we alluded to the fact that there's enough natural gas under our feet to power the entire electric grid in the United States. We want to be the top net energy exporter in the country. But Senator Bartolotta, if you can kick this off, and then any other thoughts, I specifically want to talk about the rising cost of living. So we heard a lot about it in the last presidential race. We see it in the news about these because it ultimately hits our utility bill, and that's important. So how can Pennsylvania lawmakers provide relief for this? How can PA harness our role as a leading energy producer to lower the cost and boost our economy? Loaded question.
Everything that you touch, buy, utilize, everything in your life really relies on energy to produce, to transport, to utilize, everything. And when we here are in Pennsylvania, it is so frustrating to me. It actually just triggers me a little bit because now we're looking into our 12th year of a Democrat governor who, both of them just want to stifle energy production, want to appease and romance the environmental extremists, which to the detriment of everyone in Pennsylvania, to our schools, our hospitals, our families, our development, investment, everything. And we see that we're losing billions and billions of dollars of capital investment and potential. They're just turning their back on Pennsylvania and walking away. With Reggie, and I had an interesting heated conversation with someone last night regarding Reggie. Well, it's not enacted, it's not in. There's a threat of it hanging over the head of every single business, every single ratepayer in Pennsylvania. And that threat there's no light at the end of the tunnel. We need predictability, and we absolutely need to lighten the load of the onerous regulations and threats of Pennsylvania taxpayers. Right now, with Reggie looming over our heads and Pacer, it's Reggie in a dress. It's Reggie for Pennsylvania only, because we're special. That literally is threatening to raise the cost of energy on every single Pennsylvanian by 30%. We can't afford that. We're sitting here looking at the Fort Knox of energy right here in Pennsylvania, and we're not allowed to use it. And yet we're being punished for producing the energy that other states use. It's a horrible, horrible joke. Yeah. And we absolutely have to do everything we can to do it. And Gene Yaw has some legislation that's phenomenal to at least give Pennsylvanians choices when it comes to energy, what kinds they want to use. I have two pieces of legislation I've been trying to push across the finish line. One is Senate Bill 159 and one is 172. It deals with the Environmental Hearing Board, and I'll sum it up very quickly. Anyone who's ever had a lawsuit and the judge decides, okay, this is it, your case is over. Well, you can then have an appeal to something. You're only allowed to appeal on things that were discussed during the case. That's not the case with DEP decisions. These environmentalists keep coming back over and over and over and over and over and over again when they think of something new, and they keep appealing and appealing and appealing. We have lost billions of dollars of capital investment because there's no end in sight when it comes to those appeals. My legislation would say you can only bring up what was presented during the public comment period. That's it. That's it. And also to limit not to limit the number of years for the the board, the hearing board, but there were some people that were serving on the board intended to be 6 years for 28 years. 28 years. Bring them to the Senate, have them reconfirmed, bring them out from under the rock, let's talk to you and evaluate it. And if they're doing a great job, God bless you, have at it. But every 6 years they should come before the Senate so that we can see what's going on. We can actually have a voice, and we can be your voice when it comes to that board.
I love it. It's that accountability piece. Yep, accountability. That's fantastic. I'm going to ask all three of you in rapid succession on a last energy question here. So the senator referenced Reggie. It's the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. It's a program Shapiro wants to force down our throats, which basically caps carbon emissions and says if you're going to go past this point, you got to pay a fee and you can trade. It's a very dumb program that would make your utility bills go up by an average of $100 a month. So that's what she's trying to fight against. That's what all three of them are trying to fight. And she mentioned alternative energy portfolio standards. What this is the governor wants to make 50% of all energy production in Pennsylvania be forced to be these renewable alternative. We know what that means. Energy, they're unreliable, by the way. We'd have blackouts. Standards. And so that's what they're fighting against. When you look at Reggie and you look at AEPS, the governor calls it press and pacer. By the way, Shapiro is the definition of all hat and no cattle. he comes up with a new acronym like every 5 minutes. I cannot follow these things. But press and pacer is basically, I'm going to rob you blind, and the second one is, and then from there, I'm going to force you to buy a crappy product. So in fighting these two, what are the prospects? How do we move that ball? Is there hope? And what would it look like? And I'll start with Senator, and then we'll just come down the line here.
Well, we just have to keep pushing that rope uphill because right now we're a divided government. We hear John Shapiro say that every single day. And all that means is the adults in the room in the Senate, Republican controlled, we're for energy, we're for good jobs, we're for clean air and water, believe it or not, and we can walk and chew gum at the same time. But we have to fight with the House to try to get anything through the House. And if by the stroke of luck it does, then it's just going to sit on the governor's desk because he rides the fence on every single issue. So we just have to keep highlighting to the Pennsylvania public, this is what your governor's doing, this is what the House Democrats are doing, and we're trying to alleviate the strain on Pennsylvanians.
I love it. Rep?
So, guys, when we talk about base load energy, oftentimes it's easy for us to kind of glaze over and think about flipping a light switch on, or maybe your utility bills. And that's certainly part of the conversation. But when we talk about base load energy, Andrew, we need to also understand that that is foundational to the production and prosperity that either comes to the Commonwealth or leaves the Commonwealth. Without that base load energy, those that seek to produce things aren't going to be able to. I sit on the House Republican AI Opportunity Task Force that's chaired by a colleague of mine, Representative Shalaba, and other colleagues in the western part of the Commonwealth. And the reason that geography is isolated is because you see in the Pittsburgh MCA this immense growth in AI and data centers. And this tech revolution that even President Trump has recognized with the creation of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and other initiatives is happening because of the amount of energy production that is possible here in Pennsylvania. I represent a region in the northeast part of Pennsylvania, and we mined the coal that was able to then produce the steel that fueled the Industrial Revolution. And with that revolution, we saw prosperity come to PA, we saw families come to PA, and we saw Pennsylvania thrive and lead on a global stage. We right now have an opportunity to lead in that same capacity with this tech revolution. But those private sector entities will not come here if they have instability and unreliability within that energy landscape. So we need to dig, we need to drill, we need to have these nuke reactors put online. And as far as the alternative energy that the governor is touting, that stuff doesn't pass the giggle test. And we need to ensure that we in this room are advocates, not just because we want stability, not just because we want to keep utility bills down, but because we want to usher in that prosperity that was here before that can come here again.
I love it. Senator Ward, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Very good.
So, I'm a big glass half full person. I believe that, our folks elected President Trump. And I think we're going to get some help from the feds where this is concerned. And I also think that, the folks who elected Trump, and I agree with Camera, it will come down to an uprising of our citizens that are saying enough is enough. We need to have reliable heat sources. We need to have reliability in our energy. And we're sick and tired of paying all these taxes. So if all this can fall into place, our budget problems are a whole lot better because we're facing budget deficits. So it all has to fall in place. It all affects our economic growth. It all kind of ties together. So
outstanding. Moving to the topic of education, one of my favorite topics of all time. We've seen a lot in the news lately about education reform. By the way, did anyone see the video of the secretary with the chair troubling the press conference a couple days ago? So we've seen a lot at the federal level with education and the department. What are the policies being considered here that can ensure Pennsylvania kids have access to a quality education? You've been a champion on this front, Senator Ward. What are your thoughts? What are some things you're working on?
Well, thank you. I'm passionate about it. I believe in parents having choices. I was raised in public schools. My husband was as well. We wanted something different for our family, our children, so we chose a religious school. I believe every parent should have that opportunity, especially parents of children that are in failing schools. We have so many schools, especially in the Philadelphia area, that are failing. I just learned earlier this week there's several schools in Philadelphia that have 0% proficiency. Not one student is at grade level for reading or math. We're failing. And yet they want more money, and they think more money will fix that. More money will not fix that. And so there needs to be choice. We need to have ideas for helping our students in these zip codes. So I've got a bill that we call it Lifeline. Yep. Governor didn't like Commonwealth to have the tagline, so we had to rename it, so it's Pennsylvania Award for Student Success. And those students, there would be accounts in the Treasury. Students could apply for these scholarships. It would be in one of those failing school districts that is defined as the lowest 15% based on test scores. So if you're a student in that area, in that school district, you could apply for one of these awards. And there's some income requirements on it, and you have to be in that school district, but essentially they would be awarded scholarships. It would be $2,500 for a kindergarten, half-day kindergarten student. It would be $5,000 for a first through, I guess, elementary school, and then 9th through 12th grade would be a $10,000 award, and a special needs student would have a $15,000 award. And so they would be able to go to the school of their choice. It could be a charter school, it could be a religious school, a Catholic school, a Jewish school, but those schools would agree to accept those terms. Wow. And so, we really feel like it would be transformational to children. I mean, think about it. You're in a school where the teachers don't care about you, the students they're in gangs, and it's a no-win. Where are those students? I mean, what kind of future do they have? So you have the opportunity to go to a different school that cares about you, that cares about your education, that makes you accountable, that makes you study, it's transformational for students.
Unbelievable. It's so important. And just a little history lesson, the governor had voiced support for this measure when he ran for governor. And when he got elected, he line item vetoed the measure out of the budget. But the senator has done an incredible job pushing forward to get something done. You talked about student achievement outcomes, and just this question is to all three of you, and we'll start with Rep. Leadbeter, then Senator Bartolotta, then Senator Ward. But you talked about achievement. So the federal government issued its nation's report card recently, and it said that 69% of Pennsylvania 8th graders can't read at grade level. That's almost 7 in 10. And 69% also were behind in math. So clearly we have a lot of children in our state who are trapped in chronically failing schools because of their zip code. Can you talk about the urgency of doing something meaningful to help kids who are stuck with no other options, specifically the urgency?
Sure, yeah. So guys, Judy mentioned her background. Everyone has a story. I'm a product of homeschooling myself. So again, understanding that every family is unique, every child learns in a unique way. What we need to remember is that those who have the ability to move school districts, buy new homes in different areas, pay for private education, those that have the resources already have school choice. That is not an equal playing field. That is not an opportunity to pursue happiness. That is a terrible situation for those families who feel like they have no way out. One thing specifically to the urgency, Andrew, is that there is no such thing as private and public dollars. There's just dollars. And these are our tax dollars. And when you consider that we spend more per student than the national average, when you consider that families are leaving Pennsylvania and the population of young people being educated continues to decline, when you consider that we are spending more money, getting worse results, I come from the private sector, all of those metrics demand change. Change that needs to happen now.
Wow. Great answer. Senator?
So many things are going through my head. I mean, growing up with a single mom, and she had my sister when she was only 16. So she never graduated high school. I'm the first one in my whole family to finish high school and graduate college. So education has been vital to me, vital. I actually graduated high school at 16, rushed off to college, and got through with that as quickly as I could because I thought that was going to be ripped out from under me. So looking at my district, which is all of Greene County and all of Washington County, a little bit of Beaver County, it's extremely rural. There are a lot of families that are of lesser means, and they can't get out of their neighborhood. And our job as government is to provide education for everyone. That's our job. One of our biggest jobs is to educate the next generation. And if we're doing such a horrible job at it, that we have kids that are in the 3rd grade that can't read, we have got to change that. We have to change our public schools so that they provide education for everyone. Yes, it's great to have school choice. I love that. I went to a private school when I was in middle school. Changed my life. It was fantastic. Because at the time, I'm 100 years old, at the time there literally was a gang war in my middle school. I grew up in the Los Angeles area. They were busing kids in from Watts into the Valley, and they were busing the Hispanic kids from the Valley into Watts. 5th day of school, they confiscated bottles and chains, knives, and 1 gun. This is middle school, and this was a long time ago. So we have parents of children who are in areas and they're in schools where they're afraid to go to school every day. It's literally just a challenge to live through the day sometimes, not just for students, but for teachers. We have to do far better. And I think that what we need to do is focus on improving our public schools. And I know that the teachers' unions hate the idea of school choice, but guess what? If we were teaching our kids the way they should be taught and they were getting the results that we get from our dollars, we wouldn't need to even have this conversation.
Wow. Thank you. Senator Ward, or on the urgency?
Yeah, both of you are right. I mean, it's very urgent. Our governor keeps pandering to the teachers union, and it's something that we have got to do. Our future depends on it. Our future depends on our young people being proficient. And we're in a competition, technology competition with other countries, and it's important that our students are up to grade level, that they're smart, that they're going to carry us into the next generation. So we depend on them, and it's important that they have choices, and parents have choices. Imagine being in your situation, a parent that knows that school is terrible for their student, but they can't do anything about it. We have to empower parents.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. Let's give a round. That was fantastic. Good. All right. Final topic, which is very important to the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference. Everybody here tends to be of the mind that as government increases, freedom decreases. So we kind of want to do the reverse, right? We want to kind of bring the size of government down. We've seen a lot in the news lately about DOGE and efforts at the federal level to remove waste and improve efficiency in government. So Representative Leadbeter, you've long been a champion on these issues at the state level. You're the chair of the Freedom Caucus, the watchdogs in the House. Tell us about some of the challenges we face here in the Commonwealth and the work you've been leading to solve them.
Sure. Yeah, guys, when we talk about government accountability, when we talk about being efficient with our dollars, remember, one of the reasons that my colleagues and I founded the Pennsylvania Freedom Caucus was to ensure that we don't grow government and we don't take away individual freedoms. What does that mean, not to grow government? Andrew, one of the first pieces of legislation that I was honored to be a co-sponsor of was the REINS Act. At the time, it was Representative Kiefer and now Senator Kiefer introducing it and modeling it after the same policy position at the federal level that ensured that there was legislative oversight on expenditures. When you consider what the REINS Act does, and I think for those of you who will be able to join us tomorrow, there's going to be a wonderful panel that really digs into that. But at a top line level, It requires that any expenditure over $1 million receives legislative oversight. Those aren't just platitudes or big words to glaze over. It's important to understand that the bigger bureaucracy gets, the smaller the results are for the private sector. The bigger bureaucracy gets, the smaller results are for the private sector. When we talk about this constitutional republic that we are all blessed to live in, the importance of representation is paramount. The representation you have in the Senate, the representation you have in the House, that goes away when a bureaucrat starts spending your money, our money. The REINS Act will ensure that anything that's over $1 million receives that legislative oversight, so that way your representation, your voice, has a say on how your money is spent. There are other things that we can talk about, Andrew. We can talk about taxpayer protection, which was one of the things that inspired me to leave the private sector and come at the time. For those of you that don't know, President Lewis was in the State House and was a champion along with Chairman Rowe in advocating for that important initiative to ensure that spending is tied to population and inflation. This is common sense, guys. This is common sense. When I throw a birthday party for my kids, if there's less kids at it this year than last year, I buy less food. If we have less population and we're doing less things, then you spend less money. It's not hard. But these initiatives that are common sense, these initiatives that are cornerstones to the success of the private sector, carry the same validity in the public realm. And so it's imperative that we all continue to champion those same positions so that way that common sense is showcased within our expenditures. The last thing I'll say, and you know, I don't know if we'll have a chance to wrap up, Andrew, but you know, we talk about this budget that we're about to go into. The governor loves to use that word. It's a spending spree, guys. When you spend more than you make, you're not budgeting anything. It is not a budget, it is a spending spree. And so we need to be prudent with what it is that we're managing because it's our dollars, and we need to ensure that there's that integrity and representation, and those things can be achieved through initiatives like the REINS Act and TPA.
Phenomenal. Such great answers, such great work all three of you are doing. As we round out with looking at the clock here, I want to give each of you just a second or two to give a closing kind of last word on these issues. And I thank you so much for what you do. So we'll start with Senator Bartolotta and just come down the line here.
The Taxpayer Protection Act, I was trying to push that wet rope uphill in the Senate for many, many, many years, didn't go anywhere. All of us, we have a zero-based budget in our homes. We know what we spent last year. If we bought a new dishwasher or whatever because the one blew up, you don't have to buy it again this year. But all the departments would come into the budget and say, hey, this is what I spent last year. I need that plus 5%. No, performance-based budget now. It should be a zero-based budget. We're all about it.
Love it. Outstanding. Rep. Leadbeter.
Just quickly, because I certainly want to be respectful of my colleagues here. Guys, when you think about low-hanging fruit, please reach out to your representatives and ask that self-attestation for benefits programs be removed. We have an issue here in Pennsylvania within Medicaid where we have 1 million able-bodied Pennsylvanians enrolled on those benefit rolls today, right now. Government waste isn't just happening in DC, it's happening here in Pennsylvania. When you see enrollment increased 70% since 2000, when you see spending within Medicaid increased by 340% since 2000, just last month, you saw over $1 trillion in improper spends within the Medicaid system, federal, nationwide. The percentages I referenced earlier were just specific to PA, but we can start with easy stuff, like just ending self-attestation to be eligible for those Medicaid benefits. So again, be prudent. This is something that we all need to own. This is all of our responsibilities. Get off the couch, ensure that you remain active. Thank you for being here. And Louis, thank you for the leadership that Commonwealth Foundation has provided for us in all of these capacities.
Thank you. Thank you, Rep. Senator?
You. I can't say any better than these two. We're getting the stop sign. We better get going.
Thanks so much. Well, if you see these three or any of the other lawmakers attending this weekend, thank them for fighting on the front lines for Pennsylvania freedom. And thank you so much. Give them a round of applause. Thank you.